Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Von Manor, where Roger and I have returned for Halloween. We've returned for Halloween. Roger and I, of course, are not dressed up in costumes because, well, frankly, that's beneath us. That's kid stuff, Roger. No, that's beneath us. This is a sophisticated and mature channel where we talk about great literature. Great. That's what we talk about, Roger. Great literature. And today, we have a genuine piece of literature to talk about. And this book, which I'm about to show you, I just received recently as a Halloween present. I got a Halloween present, Roger. Who knew people even gave out Halloween presents? But apparently they do. And I got one. My friend Lise, she knows that I really like the Illuminated editions from Beehive Books. And one came out fairly recently, I think. That's absolutely beautiful, and she knew I would love it, so she sent it to me for Halloween. And so let's talk about this lovely book and this important part of horror literature. Horror literature, Roger. This is a great classic vampire story. Not the great classic vampire story, which we all think about when we think about that. It's not Dracula, but it's a story which is pretty important and, in fact, was very influential on the creation of Dracula. And that would be this book. This is Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu. Carmilla, which is a novella-length story, which has been turned into this beautiful book from Beehive Books. It has become one of their Illuminated editions. They all come in these lovely slipcases, and it's a really, really, really nice book. So let's talk about this edition and a little bit about this story, Carmilla, because Carmilla is, like I said, pretty important. It's important as a piece of horror literature. It's pretty important as a piece of queer literature as well. Did Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu intend this to be an important piece of queer literature? Almost certainly not. But it's become one anyway. But most important, it's a really good story. It's a good, solid horror story, which is why I like it so much. And this is, like I said, a beautiful, beautiful edition. So let's take it out of its slipcase there and take a better look at it. So look at that cover. That is just awesome. Beautiful cover. Absolutely stunning. And then you have the back cover right there. Look at that. So these Illuminated editions from Beehive Books are just lovely books, and they published they've done some interesting books, and they've made some interesting choices about the stories that they publish. I'm really happy that they did Carmilla. I think this has to be the most beautiful edition of Carmilla that's available. It is available in probably 100 anthologies, if not more, because Carmilla is a very important story. Certainly, if you've got a classic vampire anthology, it's got Carmilla in there. Also, it is, of course, available for free on Project Gutenberg if you just want to read the story. But for a physical copy, man, you can't do better than this. So there we go. That's the cover. You open it up, and these are the end papers. Look at that. Fantastic. Very veiny end papers there, Roger. And this is the main illustration showing Carmilla and Laura. So this story, Carmilla, is about the vampire Carmilla, who is a very mysterious, seemingly young woman who infiltrates a household and gets involved with this young woman, Laura, in a very obsessive, intimate relationship. Now, Carmilla is a very strange young woman. Of course, if you know, as we all do, that Carmilla is a vampire, then her odd behavior makes sense. But The household in which she is entrenched herself in, they don't know. The young woman recognizes Carmilla because she has had a vision or a dream of Carmilla way back when she was just a young girl. And so she remembers Carmilla, but Carmilla, of course, she's a vampire, so she hasn't aged since back then. And all kinds of mysterious happenings are going on. People are dying right and left in the near neighborhoods. What's going on, Roger? Well, we all know. We all know what's going on. This is actually a pretty great story. Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu is an underrated author. This is usually the story most people talk about when they talk about this writer, but Le Fanu wrote a bunch of stuff, a lot of mystery stories, a lot of horror stories. Excellent and underrated writer. Well worth seeking out for this and all his other work. And this is just a fantastic, short vampire story. And the character of Carmilla is so interesting. She's clearly a dangerous vampire, but she does seem to have genuine romantic feelings for young Laura. And this story, like I said, has been tremendously influential. In fact, when I saw recently the newer version of Nosferatu, there's a lot of the film Nosferatu. There's a lot of Carmilla in that movie, starting from the very first scene. And I don't think I'm the only person who thought of that when they were watching that film. Like right away, you think, "Oh, this is Carmilla right here." There's almost as much Carmilla in Nosferatu, the new film, as there is Dracula. Almost. And there's a lot of Carmilla in a lot of Dracula movies. Bram Stoker's Dracula, for example, by Francis Ford Coppola. There's a lot of Carmilla in that. More so than just what Bram Stoker put into his own novel. And that novel was inspired in part by this story. Just an excellent vampire story. And like I said, this version of it is fantastic. Very well decorated, as all of these Beehive books are. All the different chapter headings. And the paper is of very high quality. Thick, high quality paper. And the artist, I should probably say the artist, because I don't think I mentioned that the artist is Rosemary Valero-O'Connell. And what a brilliant job Rosemary does in this volume. Look at that. That's just beautiful. Yeah. This edition is just gorgeous. And I did read this story fairly recently. I remember going into it, you know, this story, like I said, is thought of as being a piece of gay literature. And I was wondering, well, just how gay is it? You know, because, you know, sometimes that sort of thing can be exaggerated. People saying things that they want to see in the stories that they read. But yeah, this story is pretty gay. It is. But it's fantastic. It's just a fantastic story. And it deserves this kind of treatment. And it needed, I think, an edition this nice. It's a story that deserves a beautiful edition. Certainly a fantastic thing to read on Halloween. Look at that. Gorgeous. And as Poppy Z. Bright points out in the introduction, Carmilla as a character is a character that's hard not to sympathize with. She clearly is an outsider, a lonely outsider, as many vampires seem to be in literature, but at the same time, dangerous, very dangerous, clearly, as, you know, folks are getting killed right and left. And the main relationship is really interesting. Laura is an interesting character all on her own. Look at that. Fantastic. And the whole thing comes down to a proper horror ending. And it's just a purely satisfying story, no matter what you might think of it as far as what it represents or what the story means or anything like that. Most importantly, it's just an excellent story, and it's a brilliant horror story. There's Le Fanu himself. It's just a fantastic, fantastic book. Comes with its own little bookmark there. That's pretty cool. Like I said, if you want to read this for Halloween and you don't have this handy, it is available for free. The story is available for free on Project Gutenberg. Read that if you really, really like the story, and I think you probably will if you're interested at all in horror or fantastic literature of any kind. You might want to, if you feel the need for a very fancy pants edition, pick this up. It's really, really cool. And thank you, Lise, again, for sending this to me. That was really nice. And so, yeah, there you go. Carmilla, Sheridan Le Fanu, Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, and a book with wonderful illustrations by Rosemary, Valero-O'Connell. Have a very happy Halloween. Roger said he's not going to kill anybody today. You're not going to kill... Oh, too late. I will catch you next time.